As a HR professional, one of the main questions that I get is what to do if an employee is on unauthorised absence or AWOL. So I'm going to run through the best practice approach with you in this short video so that you can understand what unauthorised absence is and how to effectively manage it. For managers, initially, the first thoughts are of the concern for the employee's welfare. And naturally, the first step in this process is to try and make contact with them. But what happens if you're not actually able to make contact with them? What if they'd previously requested the day as annual leave and it was then ultimately declined, but they're now off anyway? So how do we then manage that behaviour as employers? It may come as no surprise to you that employers do frown upon unauthorised absences. It could result in disciplinary action, and some consider it terms of gross misconduct, which could be considered grounds of dismissal. So generally, most employees recognise the additional stress that the other members of the team are then faced with when unauthorised absences occur. So they have to put on the additional workload and they have to effectively manage that volume of work that's coming in. So defining what unauthorised absence is. So the examples of unauthorised absence is when the employee doesn't turn up for work as expected and they have not provided a reason for their absence. There are some examples of authorised absences, such as when the employee has booked annual leave in advance, when they've notified in the correct procedure their reason for sickness absence. There might be maternity or paternity, any additional time off such as appointments. And of course, if the employee has been put at risk of redundancy and they are then able to carry out an effective opportunity to find alternative work. So the best practice approach for this, and the first step in managing this, is to take steps to prevent it from happening in the first place. So to be able to achieve this by clearly communicating the guidelines and what the expectations are of the employer in the first place. So that would include making sure that you've got relevant policies and procedures in place, such as your sickness absence policy and your holiday policy. So they provide the clear guidelines on how you expect staff to report their sickness and how they can get in touch with you and what time they should be getting in touch with you by. Unauthorised absence is also included as part of the disciplinary policy and procedure. So make sure that it is included in there if you don't have that already. The next part is to try and contact the employee. So if you haven't done so already, that would be your first thing to do. So make sure that if you haven't heard from that employee within the given time frame in those policies, then make sure that you try and contact them. If you are unable to make contact with them straight away, whether your process is via telephone or email, if you fail to reach them within a first few hours, then obviously you're going to continue to be concerned about them, but you could also try contacting their next of kin and they should be able to make contact with the employee appropriately. If you are making contact with the individual, then make sure that you are keeping adequate notes of that conversation. So I would mark the time and the date that you have made that call or sent that email, and then pop it into the employee file ready for you to have that conversation upon their return. If the period of unauthorised leave continues for several days, then you can send a letter encouraging that contact, but also contained within that letter will be an invite to a disciplinary hearing. So should they fail to attend those meetings or continue being unauthorised absence, then you can reschedule a meeting to try and encourage that contact with you. If the employee returns to work, then of course you would investigate the unauthorised absence. I would be asking questions such as why haven't they made contact with the employer, why they were absent, and also why they haven't followed the company policy and procedure. Also ask them if they've got an understanding of what that policy and procedure is, because sometimes If it's failed or if it's not communicated effectively, then the issue will be, well, they didn't know about it, you only know what you know. But ultimately, you can then bring that to the fore and say, well, actually, you need to understand how this works, and of course, what our expectations are of you. So if that continues and you don't hear from your employee, then of course we would work through the motions and it could result in dismissal. So if you need any additional support or help with an absence process, then do feel free to get in touch with us and see how we can help you.